Dealing to join the channel here, or better yet, on Subscribestar. So, Twitter Moloch. I know what you want to say in the comments because I think we're on the same page. Trust me on that. The thing is, you can't say the things you need to say in the comments, and no euphemisms or backwards spelling. Obviously, YouTube is very well aware of those. They just enter the hot words into a list and it comes up, or hot words within a paragraph in combination with other hot words to assign it more points, like synergistically sort of thing. I mean, it's not my rules. It just gets me kicked off YouTube, which is going to happen sooner than later. But there's no need to like get kicked off before the last moment. Go to Telegram. There are all sorts of interesting people in there. Some are using anonymous accounts, but they're in there. Um, and you can say anything that's legally permitted speech, at least according to the USA. So, short version, the media, the social media, and the government were lying openly to achieve their goals. And the thing is, yes, you do, Cernovich, coming out with the hot take, is you come to Twitter, you're using Twitter and YouTube, and recently Twitter has got freer speech, and so you're in that environment, and like all of a sudden things are being talked about openly, as well they should, and then you come back to YouTube and you still have that framework in mind of freer speech. It's like it's Twitter is almost to the point of being up there with Gab or something, and then you look around YouTube and you're like, oh, how come this stuff's not being talked about on YouTube? Because YouTube is still issuing strikes for all this kind of stuff. And the other funny thing is the Twitter files are getting dropped, and the left wing is losing their freaking mind over it. And then, as people wisely point out, okay, Twitter is one company, but Facebook family of companies, and then any other companies that are Google, YouTube, it's like they were all doing the same thing. Like nobody believes that these companies are not on the same. So hey, you kicked off Alex J off of all these platforms simultaneously, or all those other accounts that helped Trump get elected in 2016. All those spicy accounts that got yeeted off of YouTube. Yeah, they also got yeeted off of the other social media platforms. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like they're conspiring to work together to change public discourse. It's like these big tech companies actually control the country, and it should be we the people. It's weird that our representatives don't do anything about that kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, short version, they were lying. So what happened was pre Elon buying Twitter, they had a child problem dealing with prurient interests with kids and other horrific things. And yes, I know. I know what you're thinking about. What should be done to those people? Trust me, trust me. We're on the same page there. You just can't say it in the YouTube comment section, but I'm right there with you, buddy. So Yoel Roth, Raheem, and Podesta. It's not that Podesta, but it's actually I think the niece of that Podesta. Were running the trust and safety team, except they were allowing it to flourish, this prurient interest in those under the age of majority. And they were essentially a board made up of bad people with an interest in those, in small people. They were more concerned with shadow banning right wing accounts than stopping actual child stuff. Because call me crazy, I suspect that they were in that Balenciago Epstein club. No, it's not a crazy. Oh, you must be a Hugo Boss alternative, right? Tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. No, why would it? Why would it be? Which is what I keep saying. Epstein's Island. That wasn't a conspiracy theory. It's fabulous when the stuff actually happens. Though I suspect if some of the videos you look up on YouTube, it's like, oh hey, wait, these videos are missing. Or you look up some of the stories, think, hey buddy, we archive these stories, and you go to the media, New York Times. It's like, oh, 404, the story's not there. Oh, that's weird because it's still in the archives. Why'd you take down these stories, mainstream media or mainstream social media? It's why is it 404 missing file? That's weird. Thank God for those archives. So no, Epstein's Island wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was probably I don't know if I can say that. It was probably a foreign interest honey trap to blackmail VIPs. It was and it had literally had a sacrificial temple to Moloch on it. But they seem to think it doesn't happen. It literally did happen. People were flying drones over it. Why wouldn't it happen again? Maxwell got popped, but while she's in prison, where are the other men and women who were on those flight logs? She's in prison for trafficking kids to nobody. Why did Judge Allison Nathan conceal testimony? There's another judge that's coming in later. Now there's motions to reveal that hidden testimony. I've actually seen some of the videos. It's on BitChute and Odyssey about what the witnesses were talking about, the stuff that was redacted. Um, it's weird. Anyway, so Maxwell is in prison for trafficking kids, and it's just her, just like she probably knows her time is short. I mean, if they can get to Brunel and Epstein in prisons. Anyway, so Judge Allison Nathan got appointed to the Court of Appeals by Biden. So Elon buys Twitter. I mean, there's so much going on here. When if he and he's almost got it. He's almost got a Twitter X, like a video hosting platform, which they have, and but the live streaming thing is the critical thing. Live streaming with monetization. There's a lot of people who are obviously going to be dual streaming, but and also you're going to a lot of people just use Twitter exclusively for spicier streams, because you got to have yeah, it'd be good to have a little bit more debate on this, because you got to have freer speech, and the censorship on YouTube is out of this freaking world. So keep in mind. Oh, you know what? Let me get to the article. Okay, so Elon buys Twitter. The mainstream media loses their mind, as well as some left of center politicians. Which that should have been pinging the alarms on the radar when the politicians, like, who got nervous. Who got nervous? Because no, like, the stuff on the internet is forever. There's too many of this interconnected spider web of networks and clouds and stuff. It's like they're not going to be able to delete everything. So you saw the people who got nervous about that. It's like, I should probably look into those people. And you're just like, no, the corrupt system is not coming to save maybe the corrupt media will investigate the corrupt media. Like, people say that about the FBI too, or the military, and then you look at the leaders of the military. It's like, dude, nobody's coming to save us but us. Like, literally, if you want to do anything, it's got to be a grassroots, bottom up approach. Um, Anyway, so the mainstream media were losing their mind for some reason, because apparently he's not. There's a lot of very powerful people in the world who fall for these honey traps. Trump wasn't one of them. Love him or hate him, he just wasn't into that kind of thing. And partially the thing that saved him is because he was kind of a germ phobe. So some of the stuff they were saying was not in accord with his history and patterns of behavior of avoiding germs. And because Musk is not on that left wing Epstein club, the Maria Abramovic type of stuff. Now keep in mind, the heads of the media were on the flight logs, which is why the media covered Epstein and Maxwell very lightly. Plus, the average reporter is not going to get Epstein for $90,000 a year. It's not even on his horizon. Don't get me wrong, most reporters will literally conceal this stuff because it hurts the left, but they're not going to break the story. Say your average intrepid reporter in San Francisco, he's doing well. I mean, well enough to live in San Francisco and writing articles. He's a name. He's a name. But to cover the story, they'd have to literally hide in South America or Southeast Asia and report via some VPN rebroadcasting system for the rest of his life. So no, your average reporter with a wife and kids is not going to go hide in Thailand or Thailand, even if he wanted to. His editor wouldn't allow the story, and like the editor would probably talk to him like, "Hey, see this name on this flight log? Yeah, that's the guy who owns the paper. He's on the flight log, or he has friends who are on those flight logs." And you just like, I can't believe a reporter would be this naive. And so we realize, like, if you're concealing things, it's like, well, then you're jointly and severally liable for these things, at least morally. So nobody is. Yeah, I know it's really hard not to Fed post, but you just can't do it. Nobody is covering these types of stories. Not even our Congress. Don't you think it's weird that even politicians are afraid of these puppet masters? They look at it. They look at it like the Brunel and Epstein thing. If they could get to those guys in prison, it's like apparently they can get to everyone. If they can get to those 4 crypto guys who had all the money in the world you could hire you could hire 4 all the time, all time ex-military contractors for security, and it's like they still got to those guys, and those guys were literally billionaires, and they got to them. I mean, like, this is like a sovereignty, a globalist versus nationalist level problem. But it's like you have to, one, admit it's a problem and let the chips fall where they may, and then you have to start addressing the problem. So no, Elon buys Twitter, and both sides start freaking out. The right wing didn't think he was moving fast enough, like the cat turd guy, who's can be funny. I know he's normie humor, but he legitimately can be funny. He was losing his mind because he didn't fire Yoel Roth immediately. And like the Quartering said on an Odyssey video, he was talking about that. He's like, you got to give the guy a couple of weeks, a couple of months, 6 months to figure things out. And it was like what happened was 2 years later, 2 weeks later, Roth was fired, and Elon is openly working to release files and talk about the abuse that is going on. Like he's in there. Elon is on Twitter talking to all these people nonstop about all this kind of things. And to be fair, even Jack himself came out and said, "Listen, you can release all the emails I have associated with the company." He said once the ownership transferred, he was locked out of all the emails as all the old employees were. But he said it was okay if you released all this kind of stuff. Like Elon is openly and actively working to deal with this kind of stuff. And you know what it feels like is Elon feels like what Trump could have been. Like, yeah, Trump turned out to be a disappointment for the right wing. Elon is actually fixing Twitter, calling the media liars, even fact checking politicians. You have literally have the media and politicians calling to censor free speech. It's weird. Weird. No, it's. I mean, once you understand, you understand. Many things are coming out. Shadow banning, Baker and the FBI, even literally the derp state conspiring with Twitter to secure who gets into positions of power. Yes, that was a little euphemism for the algorithm. This is the biggest story, bigger than Watergate by far, and the mainstream media is not covering it. The most they're doing is dissembling and calling it a nothing burger. It's like, no, it's not a nothing burger. But I mean, you like the media is telling on themselves when they say it is. Don't you think it's weird that Bankman-Fried is doing interviews and not in prison with Madoff? There's a bigger story, but the deep dive, if I do it, will be on BitChute and Odyssey. The YouTube version is kind of the safe outline that hopefully makes it past the. Let me get to the click in there. I gotta get a computer. So before Elon, a child victim had to get the Department of Homeland Security to threaten to arrest people at Twitter to get them to remove the videos of someone proving interest under the age of consent, which like should have been a no-brainer. Roth's Twitter said that this content didn't violate terms of service. It violated federal law, but it didn't violate Roth's Twitter's terms of service. That was old Twitter. It appears that Jack was just a stoned out figurehead who didn't know or didn't care what was going on. Now he's in Africa installing wells instead of helping American homeless. The priorities of the wealthy to help like third world countries are kind of weird where there are third world living situations in America. It's like they go 10,000 miles away. It's like, buddy, you could go to San Francisco and set up treatment centers for rehabs and like long term care facilities. Oh, no, we're going to go to Africa. That's weird. That's weird. What are you doing over there? Anyway, so the bigger picture is that these centers of power are shifting until they Epstein Elon, which they either will or they will try to. Well, he's probably target number one globally, and when I say that, is like there are people like there are other targets out there, but I mean there are more hated figures out there. I'm not going to name them, not the globe, but the people who are targeting Elon have resources, where the people who are targeting other people don't have the resources. Like it's not even close. So they probably will. They probably will try at least. So like I said, if things are this far, then there is no political solution. Form local health and spiritual attainment groups to actually discuss things in person. Support me on Subscribestar. If I get a few $1,000,000 together, I will form a health and fitness club in Montana. We'll work on attaining the next, or cleansing our spiritual chakras or something. So 2 points. We need free speech by law on social media, and we must be free from discrimination based on online opinions. The idea that you can get fired or the banks can cancel your accounts or payment processors or any online business can cancel your accounts based on political discrimination. No, we should have worked on that 20 years ago. I'm sure our representatives will get on those two issues, free speech and freedom from political discrimination, so you can live and work in America without being fired, doxxed, and having your bank accounts closed and having your life destroyed because you said words on the internet. If those things are happening, and they are, then the First Amendment is meaningless. And so if those two things don't happen, then we're not free. And as I say, protest is the language of the unheard. You can extrapolate from there. Oh, and Elon also kicked off some Antifa pages because they were advocating Malum and Say acts against individuals and groups. And Andy Ngo literally had the screenshots to prove it, and the left was triggered that these Antifa terrorists were banned. The media is writing endless hit pieces about Elon, but they're not writing anything about Epstein or Maxwell lists. Absolutely nothing. Because nobody fears that Elon Musk is going to hire somebody with a 173 grain dovetail to cite them up. Like nobody fears Elon in that capacity. The worst that'll happen is he'll roast you on social media. But the people who hate Elon have the capacity to put sights on you. Like they're the most dangerous people on earth. Anyway, you wonder, like this is a very small social media account, and it's probably going to stay very small. But you wonder why big social media accounts aren't saying things like real things. Like go even on Odyssey or BitChute, like accounts that've got like six-figure accounts, like they're not saying real things. Because what do you think would happen to them? What do you? And here's my favorite example of like Salty. He's a Odyssey, BitChute, all the alt media, and like I'm not talking about his YouTube stuff. Like if he was on the alt media and he suddenly starts talking about real things, and he's got hundreds of thousands of earballs on him, what do you think would happen to him if he started getting real? It's like he's got money, but he doesn't have the kind of money to go hide, to hire security. Like that's why nobody over a certain account size is like talks about any of this kind of stuff. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next episode.